Who would have the motivation to do this? I say all fingers need to be pointed at the Ayatollahs in Tehran in Iran. Oh, yeah. We had back-to-back programs. Saturday morning from 12 midnight to 6, followed by Sunday morning, 12 midnight to 6. Highest ratings ever achieved in overnight radio here at WABC because we conflated both the assassination attempt against Donald Trump, which looks more and more conspiratorial as the day goes on, no matter what the Beavis and Butthead of WABC think about that, O'Reilly and Sid, who don't want to give in on that. But what differentiated us from any other program is we gave equal time to what Nancy announced on Friday morning was a cyber attack. Now, I am a Luddite. I know nothing about these matters. I did not do what Eric Adams, swagger man with no plan at City Hall did Friday morning as if he was the technological expert throughout the United States. He gets on in the media capital of the world, New York City, and announces within hours that it is not a cyber attack.
It was not a cyber attack. I recall when I was briefed by the former mayor, he says one of the major concerns is dealing with any form of IT outage, including if it is a cyber attack. We need to be prepared.
So the pothead mayor previously, Bill de Blasio, a part-time mayor, the dope from Park Slope, and his crooked wife, Charlene, were telling Eric Adams about cyber attacks. Mm-hmm. These guys were in a purple haze all the time. Eric Adams jumped the queue and insisted it wasn't a cyber attack. Nancy, you not only insisted it was a cyber attack, you explained at great length what you had experienced years before when you were doing an investigation into business matters and scenarios that caused you to suffer. What do they call that again?
So that's the blue screen of death. So, when I was doing different types of research on the computer, and unfortunately what happens is as soon as you turn the computer on, that screen pops up, and at that point, there's nothing really to do. You've lost everything you have unless you've backed things up, and the idea of trying to rectify the situation usually just ends up in you having to get a new computer.
So almost hours after President Donald Trump had completed his acceptance speech, way too long, 90 minutes, but all of a sudden, airlines were failing to be able to respond to the needs of their customers, banking institutions, financial institutions, almost everything in Western civilization that was dependent on computer components and software was like escalating down. And I'm telling everybody in the newsroom, look, Nancy's the expert. She says it's a cyber attack. And who ignored me? The other one who doesn't believe in any of this, Noam Laden himself.
The MTA, which normally reports on its app and on its website about delays on the subways and buses, we can't access that because of the IT outage. So we know the buses and trains are running. We just don't know whether they're late or not.
How did he know the buses and trains were running? He never explained that. I challenged him because, remember, I come on with Sid every morning at 7:15. I challenged him extensively. I said, and you've given a clean bill of health to New Jersey Transit, which has had problems on every normal day. And he said, but New Jersey Transit was not affected by what he was calling a tech glitch.
We've been telling you all morning that New Jersey Transit is on time, but now we're getting word that the app information or the information given to us is not correct. They are having issues on New Jersey Transit.
So at that point, they finally started to believe, and Sid said towards the end of his program that he actually believed it was a cyber attack. Yeah. Remember, Eric Adams, swagger man with no plan, is the first to announce it's not a cyber attack. You didn't hear anything from Washington. You didn't hear anything. But this guy who considers himself a know-it-all, knows nothing about nothing. You know this field, this subject. Explain what transpired and why it is 5 days later, flights are still being canceled. Business computers are still being negatively affected, and we're not getting any answers from, what's the name of this company in Austin, Texas, that claimed to put a patch on everything on Friday and fixed it?
Yeah, that's CrowdStrike.
Boy, CrowdStrike has a infamous history. We'll get into that momentarily, but explain to our audience why it is you were so sure it was a cyber attack and what the ramifications would be over the course of the next few days. You've been right. Eric Adams was wrong, and I noticed that Noam Laden doesn't even want to comment any longer on how he gave New Jersey Transit a clean bill of health.
Yeah, he'll regret that, I guess. So supposedly this was just a faulty software update, but the issue is, so they're actually sending out these updates to all of their clients. Roughly 8.5 million Microsoft devices were affected. This included about 70% of the Fortune 500 companies, and then a lot of United States security agencies, including the cybersecurity agency, all top companies. So, but the issue that happened was the file that they sent out, which is, the entire purpose of this is to prevent from external attacks, right? So if anything brand new comes up, they're always trying to develop new ways to protect from new threats from the outside. But what this was that the information they sent out, which they claimed was faulty, somehow was actually contained the incorrect information, the random data, which nobody knows how it got in there, supposedly. So they are the ones who sent out the offending update. And again, they still don't know how it got in there, who put it in there, or why it wasn't checked, why it wasn't vetted, why they didn't, run it through first. But so all indications are it directly came from their company, which, by definition, really is a cyber attack.
And the name of the company, again, its international headquarters in Austin, Texas?
Yeah, that's CrowdStrike.
All right, so CrowdStrike now is saying they don't know necessarily when everything will be back up and running in a way in which when all your enemies are banging on your door of your fort, whatever your business is, and they're trying to find ways to get in, where they can guarantee that your computer operation, your software, will remain safe and secure.
Yeah, and what they're suggesting to everyone is each machine that was affected, you actually have to reboot it and then delete the bad files. The only problem is the bad files that you got probably already attacked the inside of your computer. So what they're doing is they're focusing, obviously, on a lot of the high clientele, which is really the government offices, so many of them. But, everyone else who uses it, I guess the low priority are the things like the airlines, because they're unable to this day still correctly, according to them, to get the tickets done correctly and also the scheduling. But I think it has maybe a little more to do with the actual flight patterns itself, as opposed. I think they're trying to, calm it down a little bit more by just saying, oh, we can't get the reservations, as opposed to we can't actually see each other in the air, which is, more terrifying.
Now notice the transportation secretary is the boy from South Bend who had almost become the Democratic nominee in 2020, at least in the early stages, to run for the presidency. Buttigieg, Pete Buttigieg. He's been invisible on this. He's been like missing in action on this.
Yeah, there's a lot of transportation things that he's been a no-show for.
Now the question is, no-show? Or he just doesn't know, and he always prided himself on being an intellect. Remember, we were told Pete Buttigieg, mayor of South Bend, could speak 9 languages, including Norwegian. He's a well-read young man. He would be an intellectual president, somebody we'd be proud of. I will bet you the reason we haven't seen Buttigieg is he doesn't know what the hell is going on. He does not want to get on that stage and look like a schmendrick, like somebody who, well, as we saw, the former director of the Secret Service yesterday, who wouldn't say anything, but probably didn't know anything because she was kept in the dark.
Yeah, the basic elements of what's going offline, it affects, obviously, the government, the different services that people are getting. But think how many things are connected to the online system. This could be much more devastating if this attack is a little more targeted going forward.
Now, we have been told in the past, in these ongoing battles that have involved Russia, Ukraine, the United States, Secret Services, our national security agency, that this very company this company, what's the name of that again in Austin?
CrowdStrike.
CrowdStrike had a server in the Ukraine that everybody was pointing at. It's like, why is there a server in the Ukraine and not in the United States, in Austin, Texas, their international headquarters? We understand they have offices throughout the world because they provide, 70% of the protection?
Well, yes. So 70% of the Fortune 500 companies, and then beyond that, and the smaller businesses, they have a lot of governmental oversight. So, I mean, from the Department of Defense, the Cybersecurity, Social Security Administration, all those types of
So
agencies.
once again, I want you to describe to our audience, since you're one of the few victims who has emerged, of exactly what this attack looks like when you're sitting in front of your computer. Because again, the work you do as an attorney requires you to work on files to be able to let a corporation know you're vulnerable here, you're not vulnerable. Yeah, go to trial. You can win this case or settle now, because I've just given you the tip of the iceberg of how many different ways these attorneys are going to eviscerate you in court. What exactly happened on that date that reminded you on Friday morning of what was probably happening to systems around the Western civilized world?
Well, I mean, again, the point of the machine itself not working, the operating system not working whatsoever. So you can't get any functionality out of it. So when you turn on the system, it's a blue screen of death is what they call it. And it's letting you know that you have something amiss. And at that point, you can't really do much with the computer at all. You have to, I mean, you can't even really reboot it. You can't do anything like that. You're trying to now salvage whatever type of memory component you had in there. Because again, the idea of what happened here is the malware got through. So now it infected your entire system. So it's going to basically destroy your files or make them unreadable. So there's nothing left to get, even when you get the computer back on.
And they claim that it is a continuation. It's like it's on a cycle. So you have to basically go computer by computer by computer.
Yeah, I mean, and the idea is for these very, sort of top level security type systems that they have that are protecting the government information. The problem is it's already been compromised. So now you're working in the dark, not knowing what has been taken, what has been compromised, what information is out there. So that's the next step of it, figuring out exactly what has been compromised. But we already know it's high government level information.
Who would have the motivation to do this? I say all fingers need to be pointed at the Ayatollahs in Tehran and Iran. I'm going to make the case up next for why Iran is at fault for the cyber attack. Iran is at fault for the attempted assassination of Donald Trump, because we know they had issued a fatwa against Donald Trump weeks before, and why Iran is now 2 or 3 weeks away from having its first atomic bomb, as stated by our own Secretary of State Blinken over the weekend. It was like lost in all the news. It's sort of like, what? This is probably the most important news at all. Don't go anywhere, because I'm going to make the case against Iran as being behind all three of these actions. It's your guardian angel, Curtis Sliwa here, reminding you to click that subscribe button and hit the bell icon so that you never miss a beat of the action here at 77 WABC Radio. Thanks for joining us. And until next time on the Rip and Read, stay safe and stay informed.